The Great Hall of Selvarn Prime wasn't designed for humans. The ceilings arched like the inside of a beast's rib cage, glowing blue veins running across the walls. Ambassadors of a dozen species sat in tiered circles, whispering in tones that ranged from clicking to deep resonant hums. But the room was quiet, far too quiet, as the single human representative stepped forward. His name was Jace. Tall, quiet, unarmed. Humanity hadn't sent warships or escorts, just him. The galaxy mistook that for weakness. General Vareth of the Selvarn Dominion towered at the center podium, scales shimmering with a predatory shine. He was known for his temper, his ruthlessness, and his pride. No one had ever told him no. Today, a human was about to. State your claim, human, Vareth growled, voice echoing through the hall. Jace didn't flinch. Earth requests passage rights through your border systems. Peaceful travel only. Snickers spread across the tiers. The Selvarn had denied passage to every species smaller than them. It was a public humiliation tactic. Varoth leaned forward, smirking. And what will your tiny world offer in return? Respect, Jace replied softly. That single word sucked the warmth from the room. Vareth's tail thrashed once. Respect? From humans? He laughed, a harsh, metallic roar. Your species crawled into the stars only a century ago. What could you possibly threaten us with? Jace remained calm, hands loosely folded behind his back. Nothing, he said. But disrespect carries consequences. The room froze. Varoth stepped down from the podium, approaching him in slow, heavy thuds. He stopped just inches away, towering over the human diplomat. Are you warning me? Vareth whispered, voice venom slick. Double quotes no, Jace replied. I'm informing you. No one breathed. A murmur rose. Several delegates shifted uneasily. Vareth was known for reacting violently to defiance, and Jace had just given him the greatest defiance of all. You dare think humans are equals? Vareth hissed. Jace finally looked up, meeting the alien's burning gold eyes. Equals, he said. No. We treat everyone with respect until they're the ones who end it. That sentence was the final. Spark. Varoth drew back his arm and slapped him. The sound was like a gunshot in the vast hall. Jace staggered one step to the side, a thin line of blood forming on his cheek. He didn't raise a hand to defend himself. He didn't retaliate. He just straightened and looked at Vareth again, calm as an ocean with a storm building. Beneath it, the entire galaxy would later replay this moment a billion times, because this right here was when everything changed. Jace wiped his cheek with two fingers. That, he said quietly, was a mistake. Silence. Real, absolute silence. And then one by one, every light in the Great Hall flickered. Communication screens glitched. The emergency sirens chimed once, just once, but across the entire Selvarn Dominion. That sound had only ever rung for one reason. An incoming anomaly breaching FTL space. The navigational officer shouted from the balcony, voice breaking with terror. Multiple signatures, dropping out of fold space directly above Selvarn Prime. Unknown class, unknown origin. Vareth spun toward the control pit. Who dares breach our capital? The officer swallowed hard. They carry Earth transponders, General. The hall erupted. Delegates rose to their feet, shouting. Vareth's tail froze mid-swing. And Jace? He simply exhaled. 6 seconds, he murmured. Varoth stared at him. What? Jace met his eyes again, an unreadable expression glowing beneath the bruise forming on his cheek. It took them 6 seconds to arrive, he said. You laid a hand on a human. He stepped closer, and Earth heard it. The hall doors thundered open. A distant sound, low, metallic, impossibly deep, shook the air. The first human warship silhouette darkened the skylights. The galaxy had no idea what was coming next. The Great Hall of Selvarn Prime trembled as shadows crossed the skylights. The delegates pressed against the railings, some in awe, most in terror. Human ships had never come this deep into Selvarn territory. In fact, no one had ever dared. Varoth stormed toward the nearest viewing panel, claws scraping the floor. Identify those vessels. The trembling officer pulled data onto the display. They're not any registered class, General. Their hulls aren't They aren't made of anything in our archives. Jace watched calmly, hands folded behind him. We did ask for peaceful passage, he murmured. Va Roth single quotes, S head snapped around. This is an act of war. Only if you insist on calling it that, Jace replied. A booming hum filled the air deep enough to rattle the bones of every being in the chamber. 3 massive warships settled above Selvarn Prime, like silent mountains of steel and dark light. They weren't sleek. They weren't beautiful. They were purposeful. The kind of purpose that said, we only arrive when something has gone very, very wrong. The ships did not aim weapons. They did not broadcast threats. They simply existed, and that was enough to terrify the hall. A soft chime echoed as a message came through the hall's speakers. This is Earth Vessel Horizon's oath, requesting diplomatic confirmation of hostile contact against a human representative. The entire hall turned toward JACE. Va Roth growled. You called them. Jace shook his head. No. Earth listens. Vareth slammed a fist into the railing, cracking metal. You dare make demands of the Dominion on our own world? Jace tilted his head. I didn't demand anything. I stated a consequence. Delegates whispered urgently among themselves. Some were already reconsidering alliances. Others wondered what else humans had hidden. The broadcast voice repeated. Colder this time, Selvarn Prime, respond. Our diplomats' biometrics indicate injury. The officer hissed at Vareth, General. If we don't respond, silence. But silence was no longer his to command. The skylights dimmed as one of the human vessels descended lower, close enough that the vibration became a physical pressure. Plates and banners shook on the walls. The air felt heavier. JACE stepped forward. General Vareth, your next decision will decide whether this world enters an era of peace or a memory. Vareth glared at him. You think a few ships can threaten my world? I think, Jace said quietly, that you don't yet understand why they're here. Vareth's nostrils flared. Explain. Jace tapped the side of his neck, revealing a barely visible implant one the galaxy had dismissed as primitive. Earth developed real-time distress signaling. It doesn't call ships, he explained. It reports human harm. Vareth blinked. Reports to who? To everyone, Jace replied. Every colony, every station, every fleet. Anywhere a human exists, they hear it. He lowered his hand, and they answer. The hall doors slammed open again, this time not from fear, but from soldiers. Selvarn guards rushed inside, weapons raised. Va Roth gestured sharply. Detain the human. He is the source of this crisis. The guards surrounded Jace. He didn't resist. He didn't even tense. He simply whispered. Your mistake just grew larger. One of the guards seized his arm and froze. The entire hall froze with him, because overhead, the human ships shifted formation. One rotated, exposing a glowing core, swirling with silent energy. The officer checking sensors gasped. General, they're powering a fold disruptor. Gasps rippled. Fold disruptors were banned across the galaxy. They could collapse entire regions of space, trapping fleets or isolating worlds. They wouldn't dare, Vareth muttered. Jace exhaled softly. They would, but not as an attack. The disruptor pulse charged higher, the glow intensifying. Then why? Vareth demanded. To ensure your reinforcements can't interfere, Jace said. Earth came to talk, not fight, but they refused to let anyone remove me. Vareth's eyes widened as realization hit. Jace wasn't important. The gesture was. The message was. Touch a human and the universe responds. The disruptor pulsed, sending a wave across Selvarn Prime's orbit. Alarms lit up the hall. Every delegate's comlink died instantly. Starship readings vanished. They were cut off from the galaxy. Isolated. Alone. Every eye turned to Jace. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply said, General, sit down. We are going to finish our conversation. Vareth trembled with rage and fear. Jace wiped the dried blood from his cheek, and this time, he added softly, You'll listen. The great hall pulsed with quiet panic. No one dared move, even the guards who had been gripping Jace's arms seconds earlier. The fold disruptor's aftershock still hummed in the walls. Like a warning heartbeat, Selvarn Prime had never been trapped before, never been cut off, never been forced to listen. General Verith slowly lowered himself back into his central seat, his tail twitching with barely restrained fury. The delegates watched him, unsure if he would attack again or retreat into strategic silence. Jay stood alone in the center of the hall. Unarmed, calm, bleeding. And yet, somehow, the most dangerous figure in the chamber. Explain, Verith growled, claws tapping the stone armrest. What exactly? Jace asked softly. Why Earth believes it can shut down our entire system because of a minor disciplinary action. It wasn't a question. It was an insult. Jace looked around the hall. Does anyone else think it was minor? Whispers, claws tapping, wings shifting. No one met his eyes. Finally, an elder from the Vern collective leaned forward. General, the human was a diplomat. Harming him violates 27 treaty codes. Verith snarled. Silence. Humans never signed those treaties. Jace nodded. That's true. We didn't. The hall tensed. Jace stepped toward the center podium and gently touched the cracked metal. Where Verith had slammed his fist earlier. Earth isn't part of your political games, he murmured. We don't belong to your hierarchies, your ranks, your dominance rituals. We tried to enter peacefully, respectfully. His eyes lifted to meet Verith's. And you struck the first human who ever stepped into your hall. Verith bared his fangs. Because you insulted me. No, Jace said, shaking his head. Because you thought humans were beneath you. The silence after that felt radioactive. Outside, the human ships shifted again, repositioning not in threat but in vigilance, like silent sentinels prepared to react to even a heartbeat of danger. The delegates couldn't stop glancing at them. Va Roth dragged his claws down the armrest, leaving deep scars. You think you know how the galaxy works, human? Respect isn't given. It's taken. Jace's expression didn't change. No, fear is taken. Respect is earned. That line rippled across the hall like a cold breeze. A young delegate from the feathered sail species trembled. Human, what will Earth do now? What are your demands? Jace turned to her gently. Earth has no demands. This confused everyone, including Verith. No demands? Verith spat. Then why send warships? Because you hurt someone we care about. Jace replied. No one missed the wording. Not someone important. Not a ranking official. Not a strategic asset. Just someone we care about. It was the most human and the most terrifying phrase the galaxy had ever heard. The ambassador of the crystalline Yth species leaned forward, voice echoing softly. You're saying humans do not allow harm to their own, regardless of rank. Jace nodded. Every human is equal to us. Every single one. Murmurs. Some species whispered their own cultural confusion. Others whispered fear. Va Roth slammed a clawed hand onto the podium. This is madness. No empire can function without hierarchy, without knowing who is disposable. Jace met his glare. That is why Earth is not an empire. The hall fell silent again. The officer at the sensor station suddenly stood. General, more human signatures incoming. Gasps erupted. Va Roth roared. How many? The officer's voice cracked. Hundreds. Verith stumbled back a step. Jace didn't move. The holographic display lit up with swarm after swarm of human vessels entering orbit. Not in attack formation, not in conquest, but in a coordinated shield that encircled Selvarn Prime like a protective cage. The symbolism was undeniable. Earth wasn't threatening to destroy Selvarn Prime. Earth was preventing Selvarn Prime from hurting the human inside the hall. Jace let the delegates stare before he spoke. Again, you asked what Earth wants, he said softly. No one interrupted. We want nothing from your territory, nothing from your wealth, nothing from your culture. He placed a hand over the faint bruise on his cheek. We only want this never to happen again. Verith's tail scraped the floor, a sign of deep uncertainty. And if we refuse? Outside, one of the human ships activated a low, resonant hum like a predator clearing its throat. Every delegate shivered. Jace didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Then the galaxy will learn what 6 seconds truly means. The hall felt smaller now, as though the walls themselves leaned in to listen. The delegates shifted uneasily, exchanging glances filled with new calculations, alliances reconsidered, old fears awakened. Future choices weighed with trembling hands. Va Roth single quotes S composure cracked like old stone. His world had never been cornered. His army had never been outmatched. His pride had never been tested. Until today. Hundreds of ships. He muttered, voice shaking for the first time in his career. This is impossible. Earth's fleet. It was small, unremarkable. Jace nodded mildly. It was. The hall quieted. A single past tense verb terrified them more than any weapon. You're lying, Vareth snapped. Humanity can't build a fleet this massive in secret. You misunderstand, Jace said, stepping quietly toward the podium. Earth didn't build it. The hall froze. Jace continued, voice soft, steady, unhurried. They came. A tremor of fear passed through the delegates. Came. From where? The Vryn elder asked. Everywhere, Jace replied. Colonies, outposts, independent captains, private ships, old freighters modified to fight, families with one good engine, scouts who heard the distress call and turned around mid-mission. He looked around the hall slowly. Humans don't arrive because they're ordered to, he said. They arrive because they choose to, a quiet gasp echoed. Most species in the galaxy relied on rigid command structures. Fleets moved only when commanded. Soldiers fought only when permitted. Hierarchy governed survival. But humanity responded to harm like a single, shared heartbeat. You mean, these ships aren't military? The crystalline youth delegate stammered. Some are, Jace admitted. Most aren't, but they all came for the same reason. He touched the fading bruise on his cheek. I was hurt. A stunned silence blanketed the room. Jace turned toward Vareth. That is what 6 seconds measures. Not response time. Not fleet mobility. Not military readiness. His voice softened. 6 seconds is how long it takes for every human to care. Vareth sank deeper into his seat. His scales no longer gleamed, they seemed dull, dimmed by the weight of something he had never felt before, humility. The hall lights flickered as the human ships shifted again. This time, instead of forming a shield, they aligned into a pattern, an unmistakable symbol humans used across their colonies. A circle. Unbroken, unbreached. A message. We protect our own. The Sale delegate trembled. Human, are you declaring war? Jace shook his head. No. Earth doesn't want war. We want understanding. Understanding. Vareth snarled. You surround my planet. To prevent escalation, Jace answered. Not to create it. You're angry. Injured pride makes dangerous choices. Vareth bristled at the accuracy. Your fleet is already mobilizing. Jace continued, gesturing to the sensor displays. Half your armadas jumped before the disruptor closed the fold space lanes. The officer confirmed with a shaky nod. It's true, General. Our forces will arrive. In hours. No, Jace corrected him gently. They won't. The hall tensed. Outside. One human vessel dimmed its lights in a rippling sequence. A soft hum vibrated through the hall. Jace explained calmly. We've deployed anchor fields. Any fleet that attempts to jump here will be redirected to safe holding coordinates. You would dare, Vareth began. We would prevent unnecessary death, Jace interrupted. Yours, ours, everyone's. He walked to the very edge of the central platform, gazing up at the skylight where human ships passed like silent guardians. Earth will not fight today, he said softly, but we will not allow harm to come to any of us, not even one. Vareth stared at him, eyes burning with confusion and a growing, reluctant respect. You protect even the weak, even the unimportant. There are no unimportant humans, Jace replied. The Vryn elder whispered. And if the Dominion refuses to accept this, what will humans do? Jace turned back toward Vareth, expression unreadable. Then we will leave. Vareth blinked. Leave? Why? Because if humans stay, Jace said, the galaxy will reshape itself around us. We don't want that. We don't want to dominate. We just want to be safe. For the first time, Vareth looked lost. Why come here at all? He asked. Jace single quotes S answer was soft. To build trust. The hall erupted in whispers again. Vareth stood slowly, towering as he always had but somehow smaller. And what happens now, human? He asked, voice quiet. Jace stepped closer. Now, he said, you decide if this ends with peace, or if 6 seconds becomes a warning the galaxy never forgets. The hall felt like a held breath. Every delegate leaned forward, every guard froze. Every sensor light blinked in anxious silence. Above them, hundreds of human ships drifted like silent guardians waiting, watching, listening, waiting for one decision, that the decision of a single alien general who had struck a human and woken the entire species. Va Roth single quotes S voice, normally thunderous, came out as a low rasp. You want me to choose peace after threatening my world? We didn't threaten your world, Jace replied softly. We protected ours. That distinction hit harder than any weapon. The Vryn elder whispered to her neighbor, this is why humans scare me. They do not conquer for pride. They defend for love. Vareth's claws grated against the floor. Love is weakness. Jace shook his head. Love is the only reason we survived long enough to join the stars. Silence. Until, slowly, the Yith delegate chimed in, her crystalline voice echoing like soft chimes. General, listen. We all underestimated humanity. Perhaps this moment is important. Vareth snapped toward her. Important. The humans surround our world like a cage. A shield, she corrected gently. If they wanted war, none of us would be alive right now. The logic hung heavy. Jace stepped closer, stopping at the cracked podium where Vareth had struck him. His fingers brushed the dented metal, not with anger but with quiet meaning. General, he said softly, this isn't about pride. Not mine, not yours. He looked around the hall. This is about whether the galaxy chooses fear or understanding. Vareth's tail twitched. And if I choose fear? Jace met his eyes without flinching. Then humans leave forever, and the Dominion loses the chance to grow. Gasps scattered through the hall. Va Roth didn't react, but his jaw clenched. And if I choose understanding? He pressed. Jace gestured upward. Then the ships leave, the lanes reopen, and Earth will stand beside the Dominion as equals. That word equals made the entire chamber pause. No species had ever offered that to the Selvarn. No empire had ever spoken to Vareth as if he were anything but a threat. Jace continued, voice like steady water soothing sharp stone. Humanity doesn't seek to rule, he said. We seek partners, allies, friends, people who treat us with the same respect we give them. Vareth stared at him, unsure how to process it. So all of this, your armadier display of power, was for one human? Jace shook his head. No, he said quietly. Not for one human. He pointed upward. For all of us. The hall went still. The galaxy needed to understand, Jace continued, that hurting one human means hurting every human. Not because we're powerful, not because we're dangerous, but because we're connected. His hand moved to the faint bruise on his cheek. We feel each other's pain. That is our strength, the delegates murmured, absorbing the truth. Finally, Vareth sank slowly into his seat, scales dimming, pride melting into something unfamiliar. Humility, human, he said, voice low. I misjudged your people. Yes, Jace agreed, gentle but firm. You did, Vareth exhaled shakily. And if I apologize? Jace nodded. Earth will accept it, and the ships, they'll leave within minutes. Vareth swallowed hard, and then, with a trembling breath that echoed through the hall, he bowed his head. Deeply. I apologize, he said, for striking you, for disrespecting your species, for misunderstanding what humanity truly is. The hall erupted. Gasps, shock, disbelief. The great general, bowing to a human? Jace stepped forward and reached out, not to strike, not to command, but to place a steady hand on Vareth's forearm, a gesture of peace. A gesture of humanity. Outside, the human ships shifted, lights rippling across their hulls like a sigh of relief. One by one, they began ascending, peeling away from orbit. The anchor fields shut down. Fold space lanes shimmered back into existence. Selvarn Prime was free. But changed forever. The delegates watched through the skylight as the armada rose, silent titans returning to the stars. No conquest, no threats, no demands. Just protection, just loyalty, just humanity. Va Roth looked up at Jace. Do you always respond this way? Jace smiled faintly. Only when someone hurts us, and if someone protects you, then we protect them back, Jace said. With everything we have. The hall buzzed with new understanding. For the first time, The galaxy truly listened. And for the first time, it trembled not from fear, but from respect.